to educate, motivate, and build one another through shared knowledge and success. This is Young and Successful, and these are your hosts, Jay Chukwi, Kenny Awashika, and PJ Luminan.
Welcome back to the Young and Successful podcast. Ooh, I'm very excited for this one, man. We have some first here. Look, Kenny, the podcast is
Yeah,
breaking history right now. We're creating history,
let's
and
go.
PJ is not here for this one today, but you know, our prayers are with him. PJ is kind
Yes.
of just dealing with yeah, a couple of things right now, and he's handling it. So PJ is gonna be back before we know it. The
Yes.
other thing that is making history for the Young and Successful podcast
Yeah.
is the fact that we have our first female guest,
Woo!
which is amazing. We pay attention to these things. All right. Our guest today has, she began her life and financial services journey in 2009. After graduating from UMW with a political science degree, began working at the Milwaukee Teachers Education Center. She gained a lot of knowledge and skills while employed at MTech, but always felt like there was something missing. Entrepreneurship was the missing piece there.
Mm.
So in 2009, she was introduced to the insurance industry at St. Matthew's CME Church, an opportunity which she initially frowned at because she did not see herself as a salesperson, right?
Nobody
And
wants to
then,
be a salesperson.
uh, but hey, listen, I love sales, man. It's my thing. But here's the thing: she found out that insurance was just a piece of that puzzle, right? And began to expand her knowledge in the financial services industry over the years. Worked with hundreds of federal employees, helping them with retirement plans, and she also conducted programs such as Girl Get Your Money Right, which I will also say very fitting considering this is Women's Month. Wealthy Me,
Go.
what what the health is life insurance, Don't Go Fund Me, Insure Me workshops, and currently serves thousands of life, health, credit, and tax clientele through her agency, Barra Legacies. Ladies and gentlemen, our community mission is to create initiatives that spread the importance of and application of financial knowledge.
Yeah.
Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Miss Ola Summers.
Welcome, 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 welcome.
Thank
Hey,
you.
how was that, Ola?
That was beautiful. Thank you.
So I just want to start off by saying thank you for taking our invitation. Thank you for joining us. I'm very excited for this one. I'm strapped in, ready to be blown away information because I know you and Kenny are just gonna plant some seeds here today. If you know, we call Kenny here the farmer because
Yeah.
there's always a lot of information, right? So with no further ado, please, right, take it away. Tell us more about you. Tell us a little bit more about what you do in this insurance and financial services field.
All right. Well, I thank you guys for having me on today. As you said, my name is Ola Summers. Being in the life and financial service industry for going on 12 years in May, it's been an interesting journey. You know how sometimes when you already have your life planned out, but then life is like, no, I got other plans for you. That's kind of what happened with the life and
Yeah.
financial service. So when I was at church at St. Matthew CME, what happened was I was at a prayer meeting and I had just graduated from UWM, and I was kind of at that place where I knew I wanted more out of life. I just didn't know what more was. And so a lady at church approached me and she said, well, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? And I was like, I'll probably go back to school and I want to open a business. And then she said, well, what kind of business do you want to have? I said, one where I make a lot of money. And she's like, okay. She's like,
Everybody
that
wants to make a
sounds
lot of
That is,
money.
everybody
hey,
wants,
that's the
yeah,
right
everybody
one.
wants to make,
That's
yeah,
the right
right,
one.
Everybody wants to
exactly.
be a
That's
millionaire.
the right business, exactly. And so she's like, that sounds
Exactly.
good, Ola, but you have to have a plan. And so she said, let me introduce you to an opportunity. So I don't know if y'all ever heard that, let me introduce you to an opportunity, but my eyeball raised like, what kind of
What
opportunity is
opportunity?
this?
What's going on?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And so she said the insurance industry. And so she actually took me with her to Chicago, Illinois. And when we stepped in this room, you know how you can come into an atmosphere where the energy just feels right.
Different.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
energy just felt right. It was all of these professionals, in the room talking about their successes in the industry. And so, what really took me away
Right.
was the gentleman who had been in the industry for over 30 years said, my family has never missed a meal since I took this opportunity. And I said, you know what? That's what I want for my family, where I don't have to struggle just to be able to provide. When at the time I was single, but I was thinking for the future. And so I
Mhm.
said, let me see what this opportunity is about. And I went ahead, and here I am 12 years later.
Wow.
Ooh,
Wow.
amazing. So you met this lady at church, and she kind of, I mean, how was that like? Is it something where you kind of went up to her and asked her about it, or was it just obviously she asked you what you wanted to do? So I'm kind of trying to figure out how to get into that conversation where she was so concerned, right? Asking about what you want to do and things like that. Can you
Well, I
speak a
think
bit on
her
that?
biggest thing, yeah, I think her biggest thing was she had seen me. Me and her didn't have a really close relationship, but in the prayer meeting that I was a part of, it was a real intimate group. So it was only like 8 of us. And so she was actually looking to
Yeah.
expand her team of agents. And so, you know how I think people look for young, new talent, like, maybe
Mhm.
I could help to shape and mold this,
Yeah,
because she was older than me. And she had already been in the
absolutely.
industry for 10 years. And
Mhm.
so she said, how about you just take on this opportunity? So I think she was actually scouting out potential, and she saw some
Mhm.
potential in me. And she said, let me just see if she's
Some
even
potential.
open. And I'm glad that she did, because I think in any endeavor that you take, especially in entrepreneurship, you need a mentor so
Mhm.
that they can help you to not make the
Absolutely.
mistakes that they made. And she literally took me under her wing like a daughter, and she helped me to really understand that I could make this into a career.
Absolutely. Like I was gonna say one of those things for me was just having a mentor
Yeah.
that saves time as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
By eliminating those mistakes. Go ahead, Kenny.
Yeah, actually, you just mentioned one of the two things that I was going to say. You mentioned two major things right there.
Right.
One, you seek for a mentor, or the mentor also seek you. So, as a business owner, you should be in the market looking for talent as well, right? So she was on the hunt, and then you were also already in the
Right.
right mindset and the right mind, seeking someone that can also take you towards that vision that you had, or that you believe you want for yourself, and those two just interject. So I guess it wasn't luck. It was
Absolutely.
Yep.
just opportunity meet preparedness, I
It was
guess.
just preparedness
Exactly.
and the willingness to take that risk, right? Because
Yeah.
you met this you talk with this lady and she takes you all the way to Chicago. The fact that
Yeah.
you were just open minded to go along with it, I think that,
Mhm.
that kind of makes a difference because you could have said no, I don't care, and the path could have been different, right?
Yeah.
So you get to this office, you meet all this. I mean, give us a what was this? What type of people were this? What were they talking about? And how did you start learning from them?
Yep. So it was a room full of professionals. So they all had on suits and ties. The
Hmm.
women had on their business suits with their stiletto heels. You saw all of
Right,
their briefcases, and just all of these things. So I'm coming in. I'm the youngest one in the room, mind you.
Wow.
And so it was
right,
just how welcoming they were. So they didn't look down on me because I was young. They actually embraced me, and they were like, "Wow, I wish I would have started at your age." And they're like, the world is yours. And so being in that place, everybody being friendly, everybody being welcoming, and I would say everybody being open, because not only did they talk about the good side or the upside of the life and financial service industry, they actually talked about the downside. We had a guy that got up and he shared how he was struggling, in his entrepreneurship journey. And it was just because he hadn't built that tough skin. And he said, I just had to
right.
really have a conversation with myself where I realized, look, either you gonna treat your business like a business, or it's not gonna run itself like a business. So just being able just to hear both sides made me realize that this is an opportunity that I want to embrace, because I had been in the field before where I took on different networking opportunities, but sometimes you always just hear the upside, you never hear the downside. So when I was taking on those opportunities and I would have a lot of down moments, I'm like, yeah, this ain't for me, and I would stop. But with
Hmm.
this one, knowing that
Right.
they had been on both sides, that made me feel a little bit more, I guess, what will be the word, secure in making the steps.
Secure. Absolutely. So for you, what was, as you got into this process, and just based on what you're explaining here, for you personally, what was the toughest moment, right, when you started getting into the business?
I would say the toughest moment was, first they always tell you to start with your warm market, right? Which are your family, your
Right.
friends. So of course they're gonna say yes to you because they love you, they want to see you succeed. So then once my
Hmm.
warm market started to dry up, I had to go into my cold market. And
Right.
I got so many no's. I mean, people would hang up the phone on me. People would stand me up for appointments, and I didn't have tough skin, because I'm a pretty nice person. And so to feel that
Right.
people were treating me cruel, or people weren't even giving me the opportunity, I did second guess myself. Like, is this the right decision? Do I really want to go into this? Go into this field? But then the
Yeah.
the CEO of the organization that I joined, he ended up calling me, and he told me, he said, you are just one person away from a yes. He said, so all of those no's, Ola, he said, keep going through them because you're going to get your yes. And so just being able to get that push from him, I believe helped me too, because he had been in the industry, for over 30 years. And so I'm like,
Right.
look, if he's at this level of success, I know that he had to go through some no's too.
Oh, that is so good. Now, okay, Kenny, before I turn it over to you, I do have two more questions, right? Because I
There's a
told you
lot
guys
of
I'm excited about this, man. This pause, man. Listen, the more Ola goes, man, the more I'm like, tell me more. Listen. So here's the first thing. During when you started, right? I guess just to kind of give people an idea of what you were doing at that time. Right? You're making all of these calls. What were you doing at that time? Were you just are you already started with selling uh insurance at that point?
Yep, I was. So when I first started in my entrepreneurship journey, I still had my full time job. So I
Right.
started just taking my baby steps into the life and financial service industry because I said, look, I'm not going to go full fledged because I still got bills and everything that I needed
Of
to pay.
course.
Yep.
Of
And so they started you on this journey where, okay, they wanted you to go with your warm market to try to make the sales. And so they gave me a whole presentation booklet. Of course, your family like, oh, this is the best thing. I'll buy it. But then when you started going to people you didn't know and you sound like a salesperson, they're like,
Ooh,
yeah, I don't want that. So I had to learn my personality. So
of
I
course.
wasn't nervous. My voice wasn't shaking. So yeah, I was trying to sell them a product. But what I learned was you're not selling a product, you're selling them yourself,
You're
right?
selling
You're
yourself.
letting them know that you actually are here to introduce them to something that will be beneficial to them and to their family. So I had to get product out of my head, and I had to get, okay, let them know who Ola is in my head.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's amazing. So, uh, the last thing I want to know, do you remember the moment of your first yes, and how did that feel like?
I do. I do remember the moment of my first yes. So it was so funny. I'll talk about my yes that wasn't in my warm market. Okay. So
Okay.
I was on Facebook and I had just made a post and I had just said, if you're interested in getting some life insurance coverage, inbox me. So this gentleman inboxes me. And so then he was like, yeah, he was like, I want to know more. And so of course I was kind of skeptical. I'm like, okay, because you gotta be careful on Facebook with social
No,
media.
she cute, she cute. Let me see, let me get the
Oh,
yes.
it's
Let
like
me
this
get
man
the
is taking the
digits.
curve, man.
Yeah, exactly. and so I was like, okay. And so I said, well, let's meet at a spot where where it's people. And so he's like,
Yeah.
okay. So then we decided to meet at Starbucks. I did my presentation, and he bought the product. He bought the policy, and it was $200 a month. I walked out of there smiling. I mean, yeah,
Ooh.
a total stranger that I didn't know, and I'm still friends with him to this day. I mean, he still has the policy, so it was
Right.
beautiful to know that I was able to show him the benefit of what he bought, and then he was able just to see me and what I was trying to do as a young entrepreneur.
Amazing. How much of a confidence boost was that for you? Because I
Oh,
can,
it
because
was
like I can feel it just the way you explain it. I'm like,
yeah.
oh yeah, I know that
Look, I
feeling.
was like, I can do this. I can do this now.
Absolutely. Oh, that's so cool. Well, Kenny, I'll turn it over to you, man.
Yeah, well, man, entrepreneurship is no joke, man. I have to say that that transition of going from being in the education environment to becoming a full-time entrepreneur, I'm sure it was a major leap for you, trying to figure out where your money is going to come from, not waiting for a definite paycheck, to you going to hustle for that paycheck. A lot of people are
Mhm.
scared of that. Can you tell us, or can you encourage someone out there to make that move? Actually, women out there, because I know we need more women in
It's Women's
business.
Month, man.
Yeah,
Women's
Yeah.
Month.
Let's
Yeah.
let's empower.
yeah.
Yeah. So when I told you guys that I was still working my full-time job, right, at the Milwaukee Teacher Education Center, and then I was doing the entrepreneurship on the side. Well,
Right.
I'm a big believer that you have divine appointments. So me saying yes was my divine appointment, right? So within 2 years of me saying yes to the entrepreneurship journey, they started cutting hours at my job.
Oh,
So
wow.
the first
Ooh.
year they cut me from 40 hours to 30 hours a week. And I'm like, okay, I could still swing that because I was working, the entrepreneurship, the life and financial services. So I was still getting money coming in. The next year, they cut me down to 20 hours a week. So I was at
Wow.
part-time, which means when you go to part-time, they're taking away your benefits. So
Wow.
Right.
I'm like, oh, y'all taking away my health insurance and all of this kind of stuff. So I was just like, okay. And so my sister Bola, who is my biggest supporter, I was just really having a conversation with her, and I'm just like, man, I will have to go get another job. And then she was just like, so what you gonna do? I was like, I think I want to just go ahead and do the business full time. And she
Ooh.
like, do it. You can do it. And I was like, I can't do it. And I was like, but don't tell my mama and dad's. Like, I was like, don't tell my mom and dad that I'll go, because I know that sometimes with parents, they want to see you succeed, but they can
Mhm.
also be very negative too with, oh, well, you gotta have the security. How you gonna do this? How you gonna do that? And when I literally tell y'all that it was nothing but God when I took that leap of faith, and it was just one of those things where I just believed in me enough to know that this is gonna have to work. I didn't have any choice because I didn't have anybody to help to support me. And so I would just tell anybody out there that you have to believe in you enough to take
Yeah.
that leap and to take that jump, because you never want to leave this earth thinking, what could I have done? No, just go
Oh
ahead
man.
and do it. Just go ahead and do it.
That's regret.
Yes,
Yeah, that's regret, and that doesn't serve anyone.
it
Leaps
does
of
not.
faith, man. Love
Yes.
it. Let's switch gears here, right? Let's talk a
Okay.
little bit. Let's dive deeper into
Yeah.
what it is you do exactly. The meat, the bread and butter.
Yep. So I started off with the life insurance industry. Now the interesting thing is I reside in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I don't know if people really know about Milwaukee, but Milwaukee, we're right 2 hours outside of Chicago, or hour and a half.
Right.
And it's a very interesting community. And so a lot of the population that I serve with life insurance, they don't really have financial knowledge. They look at life insurance as just another bill, when literally it's creating generational wealth. And so I had to help people relearn what life insurance is, because so many people had a negative viewpoint of what life insurance was, and then
Right.
they also just didn't think that it was something they need. They feel like, oh, well, I ain't worried. When I'm gone, I don't got to worry about it. Well, there's still someone here that has to worry about it. And so just helping them through that process has been, my biggest journey with educating people first before I actually try to let them know what options are available. And then
Right.
even with health insurance, I was one of the people that when I left my job, I didn't really understand, how important health insurance, is, being young, being healthy. I'm like, oh, I'm good. Oh no, you still need to go and get your physical exams and all of that kind of thing. So being in the health insurance industry, I have to explain to people what are deductibles, what are co-pays, all of these kind of things that they just think they got health insurance and they bill covered at 100%. No, that's not how it works. And then we added on as we begin, diving deep into the community. Oh, we see people need help with their credit. Oh, we see people need help with their taxes. So we just prided ourselves on being like that one-stop shop where
Right.
people, they have already built that trust with us. So now they can get all of these different services, at one agency.
Yeah, there's
Oh.
a lot of people out there that just believe that they don't need life insurance. That, oh, I'm young. Uh, oh, it's too late for me because I have this specific disease. Can you please tell us or tell people out there that you know life insurance is still possible for you out there and it's not super expensive?
So I will first start, Kenny, by telling people what life insurance is, right?
Okay.
So
Yes.
people have to understand that life insurance is an income replacement. So what that literally means is if God forbid I was to leave here prematurely, I would still want my husband, I would still want my children to be able to sustain their quality of life with me no longer being here. And so what they say is that you have to have at least 10 times your income when it comes to life insurance coverage, right? And so then the next thing is that so many people don't understand what coverage is based upon. They're not just looking at your age, they're looking at if you're a smoker or a non-smoker. They're looking at your health, they're looking at your height and weight, they're looking at your driving record. So they take all of these factors in, and then that's how they're able to determine how much you're going to pay a month, right? And
Right.
so some people feel, oh, I have a kidney failure or I have congestive heart failure, I can't get a policy. There literally is a policy out there for everyone because the insurance companies have took into account that we are dealing with a population that is not as healthy as they once used to be. And so everybody starting from the age of a baby, all the
Right.
way up to 80 can get insurance coverage.
She has been able to get a friend of ours $1 million insurance for like $60 a month. I'm like, $60 a month for $1 million insurance? I'll do that.
Amazing.
So she's that
Amazing.
good.
So I mean, now the thing is, obviously, in this time that we live in, I think that there's a couple of things, right? There is a lack of education, which I think is very important.
Yeah.
And of course, you run a lot of programs with things like that, and it seems you also educate people on a lot of these things. I think that education is one of the biggest things to help people understand a lot of the things that we're dealing with, because when it comes to things like insurance, right, it wasn't too long ago. Right, it's not like I've not always been like the, oh, you know get your stuff together kind of person. It wasn't too long ago where I just signed up for insurance, especially at work, just because it's benefits, right? I could not tell you the first thing that was going on there. And a lot of that information was just overwhelming, to be honest. Right, this is why a lot of people don't kind of dive into it. Would you say is there a way that people can kind of start getting into it, right? Start collecting this information in a simple way, which will enable people to just dive deeper into it, right? Say, because for someone like me, I like the the simplistic part of it first, right? And then it strikes my interest, then I dive deeper.
Yep. So I know for our agency, what I have created over the years is I have a life insurance questionnaire.
Right,
Literally, it's 10 questions that you would answer, and then I'm able to get you a quote. And
right,
so once I get a person a quote, I'm able to go over the different types of life insurance that one will have. I think what we have to be so cautious of is there's so many commercials, there's so many programs that they try to sell you, but
right.
people don't really understand what they're getting. So I know, I won't name the company, but I know they send out millions of mailers. Yeah, look, I ain't about to name the company,
Hey,
but
no, come on now. Shots fired. But
exactly, I ain't naming the
oh,
company.
yeah, I got you.
But I have so many clients that will come to me and they be like, hey, can you look at this mailer and tell me? I'm like, look here. I said, if you can't talk to a live agent, I said, that's not a company that you need to go with, because you can
Right,
sit here, you can fill out all your information to never even know if you got approved or not, or to know the type of coverage that you have. And so I think
absolutely.
it's so important that when you are out there in that market, making sure that you make the time just to have that one-on-one conversation, because I know that a lot of people steer away from talking to an agent because they feel like they just gonna try to push, a sell on them. But you do have some agents out there like me that's literally just wanting to give you that information. So I'll
Right.
go over what a term policy is, what a whole life is, what a universal is, and then I'll be like, hey, I can email you a pamphlet that goes over everything that I just, had in our conversation, and then that way you can look it over in your leisure time. So that would be my advice, would still try to reach out to an agent so that you could get the clarity of the type of products that are available.
Yeah, I mean, we just went through COVID, and I'm sure uh, it's quite sad. But a lot of people probably didn't think they needed insurance before all of this,
Yeah.
and I'm sure we've all lost a close friend or family member. Can you, and people still want to think that they don't need insurance. Like, oh, I'm fine, I'm LD, I don't need insurance. Can you
Yep.
tell us how? life insurance has benefited some of your customers in the
Yep.
most recent year?
Yep. So it's so interesting that you talk about COVID, right? So in the 90s, right, the early 90s, a lot of life insurance companies came out with something called living benefits. I'll say that again, living benefits. And what that means is not only is the policy able to be used when someone transitions, when they leave this earth, but you could actually use the money of the life insurance policy while you're still here. So living benefits are critical illness, chronic illness, and terminal illness. So what that means, if you had like a heart attack or a stroke, you're able to use that life insurance money. If you got diagnosed with cancer, you're able to use that life insurance money. Say you were in the hospital for COVID and then you got released, but you weren't able to do two of the six living activities on your own because of the severity of the COVID. Well, then that's chronic illness. So you will be able to utilize, that money. And so I know personally, I've had, I want to say, four clients who their children, unfortunately have transitioned. And so them being able to have that life insurance on their children to be able to pay for the final expenses, as well as just take some time off, because when you lose someone that near and dear to you, life is not the same. And
Mm.
so people have to understand it's not just, oh, let me bury you and, say my final goodbyes. But no, what about your mental state? Can you literally go back to work after losing someone so close?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Shay, if I can put in one of those little seed comments here.
Yeah,
So
well,
it's
drop the
almost it's
seeds, man.
almost like you've planted that seed in the ground, and the
Mhm.
tree is growing somewhere, right?
Yes.
Someone wants to cut off a branch, but there's another branch as a backup, so the tree never
Tree
really
of life.
dies.
Yeah.
It's just it just creates life. It continues,
Yeah.
and you can pass it on from one generation to another. That's what it's trying to tell us here. So I guess we
Absolutely.
all need life insurance.
Yes.
Shay, you got your
Yes.
life insurance? Cause I got one from her.
Yeah, man. I got my life insurance. My aunt. She rang my phone. My phone was ringing that day with extra energy, so I knew I had to pick it up. So I went ahead and I did the right thing. Okay. So there we go. But no, I think that again, very important. It's like anything else, right? You're investing in yourself, you're investing in
Yeah.
your family, you're investing in your future,
Yep.
right? And it's important because it's for very serious matters. And it's the same sort of idea as what we do, Kenny, with whether it's with investing in the market or talking about savings and growing accounts and things like that. All of these things are kind of designed to make sure that you're better tomorrow than you were
Yeah.
yesterday,
Yeah.
right? It's continuous growth and it's
Hmm.
incremental steps. I'd like to move to the next or to another side of what it is you do, right? Just to piggyback off that, which is credit, which is something you guys also work with as well. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the things you do within that space and how you help people to improve themselves? And I guess you could tie that in with just credit and just the financial education as well,
Okay. Yep. And so my husband, he is the credit guru, right? So he
right?
loves the whole credit side of the business. But what we learn is that a lot of entrepreneurs, they need access to funds, to
Yep.
be able to expand with their business. And so a lot of them don't understand, how the credit score works. And so a lot of times people may think, oh, let me just pay off all of these bills and my credit is going to increase. No, that's not how it works. You got to have a mixture of things on your credit profile. So you need to have credit cards, right? You need to have secure lines of credit. So you have to have all of these different things. And so what we literally do is we do that education piece again, right? So not only do we help a person sign up for the credit program, but we actually look at your credit profile, tell you what you need to add, take you through, okay, we're going to get this deleted off. We're going to add this credit card on. And then in 6 months, we'll do that follow up to see, okay, did you follow the plan or the blueprint that I gave you for your credit, and see where your score has increased. And I know even for my husband, he did the trial himself, before we even got into it. And he went from, I want to say, a 540 to a 700 credit score within 6 months by just doing, the key steps that he tells our clients to do.
Ooh, that is pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that a lot of people need these days. And again, it
Yeah.
comes down to that education. Now, we're about to drop some seeds here uh, because I have a question for you. When someone has issues with their credit, or so they're trying to work on their credit, right? And they see something on their credit and it says, whatever the issue may have been and it's a charge of. But it also says you can dispute this, right? When you submit a dispute letter, I guess two part, how would you submit a dispute letter, right? And when you submit the dispute letter, who reads it? That's it. That's what I have.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about the dispute letters is it's three credit bureaus, right, that
Right.
have access to our credit reports. And so you can send the letter once and they try to verify that this is your account, right? Because what we
Mm,
have to understand is that the original debt that you have usually
right.
gets sold to another debtor. So it's not that person that has your original debt. And so you don't owe that person that bought that debt from them. And so
Right.
that's what you're disputing. And so what you have to do is you have to send off letters, and you can't just send off a computerized letter. You have to sign it with your signature. And so it's so key that you know all of these different steps when you're doing a dispute, because if you do it wrong, you're going to have to keep doing it over and over again. And
Right.
sometimes one dispute letter won't work. You might have to send that dispute letter 5 times before they actually will drop that off of your credit report. But literally, we have seen it work when you send it out to all three credit bureaus and you dispute it saying that this is not your debt. And then, they may try to call you to verify, but you don't have to take their call because they just calling you to verify because they don't have all the information. Because remember, they bought the debt from somebody else. So if you're
Right.
giving them all the information, then you just help them to verify. So don't answer their calls, send out your letters, keep sending them off until that negative item falls off your report.
Dropping. Boy, don't tell them all now. Okay. No, that's okay. But no, thank you for that. Because I think that that is something that, and it's something that I was discussing about with someone, and they just did not uh, think that it kind of what it
It's
was. But then
possible.
again,
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
But I'm not an expert, and I was kind of like referring them to someone to also look into that. It is also
Yeah.
something that I worked on, still working on as well. So um, I think that that is really cool. Now we have the insurance, we have the uh, credit, right, side of the business, and we also have the tax side of the business. And I'll tell you this, tax is something that is overwhelming to me. I filed my taxes for the first time myself last year, and how many days did it take me? It took me a couple of days. It took me a couple of days, and I kind of went back and forth. But I think for me, it was just more of a sense of accomplishment kind of thing. Not recommending that anyone do it if they don't feel comfortable with it. But would you tell us a little bit more about that?
So you know what? It's so interesting because we bought a tax franchise. I want to say 3 or 4 years. And first, I 3 or 4 years ago, and I started with the taxes. I did
Right.
not like it. As I told y'all before, Milwaukee, Wisconsin is an interesting place to work. And I just, when it comes to taxes, especially when people are waiting on a refund, they
Right.
don't care what you doing. So they'll call you, I don't know how many times until you answer
Where the money at?
yeah, where the
Mm,
money at? I'm not
where's
the
the refund?
IRS, so I can't tell you where your money at. And so yeah,
Okay.
I was like, yeah, this ain't for me. So my husband handles the taxes, and he can
Right.
deal with that stress and that strain of clients. But I would say the biggest thing is that with entrepreneurs, when it comes to taxes, you have to really understand what you can write off, because a lot of
Mm,
times entrepreneurs miss a lot of big things that they can write off, such as their phone, such as vacation if you're going and it's on business and stuff like that. So I would say that's my biggest tip for entrepreneurs. For those that work a job, even if you have done something where you have a LLC, you still can have some of the perks of writing things off to under your business if you have business expenses. And so I would say definitely seek out tax professionals, not me, but you can call my husband
right.
to really help you with that, because taxes, like you said, I'm not a fan of taxes. I give him
Exactly.
all of the work, and I'm like, yeah, you can handle that. It's all itemized for you. So
Hey, this is why you guys are a team, right?
exactly,
And
yes.
teamwork makes the dream work. So
Yes, sir.
I'm all for it.
As you've been in this entrepreneur journey now for a while, I'm sure you've faced a lot of challenges, and you've mentioned some of the initial early day challenges. But now that as you grow your company and you're moving on to next level, trying to expand the company, can you talk about the challenges? Because folks are like, "Ugh, I want to become an entrepreneur," but they don't realize the long hours, the involvement of running a business.
So I would say with entrepreneurship, you have to understand seasons of your business.
Hmm.
So even when I talked about starting off with life insurance was my bread and butter when I first started in entrepreneurship. But then as I began that journey, it was like, okay, well, people need health insurance too. Okay, people need dental insurance too. Okay, people need their taxes done too. And so to know the different seasons and the different revenues, because they all still work together, and so knowing how to streamline your business. So to give you guys an example, like I focus a lot on my life insurance side of the business in the beginning of the year because
Yeah.
people start with the new year, new me. They got all these New Year's resolutions, and so getting life insurance literally is some people's resolutions to be able to put that in place because they feel like they're ready. So
Of course.
then, when we come to tax time, that's also something that we start in the beginning of the year. And then in the middle of the year is when we start working with those people that want to get their credit and all of that kind of stuff done. And so I would say in entrepreneurship, you can never, I will say this, never have just one stream because what if that stream dries up? And so that had been my biggest challenge when I was starting in the entrepreneurship journey is that when I would run, you don't think that you could ever run out of clients, but sometimes you can have a stream that dries up. So when I was just working with the federal employees, but then I started getting pushed back because we were going to the VA hospitals. But then they
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, y'all can't come in here no more. And just think about what happened with COVID. They really wasn't letting you come into hospitals and stuff like that. And so it's like you got to know how to be able to reinvent yourself. You got to look at how you can be innovative. And so
Yeah.
I would say entrepreneurship is a continuous journey of learning and relearning things within your industry and learning what is the next big thing where you can sharpen your skills. So when the Affordable Care Act came out, a lot of people was like, well, I'm staying away from health insurance. Millionaires was made when the Affordable Care Act came out. And so you
Right.
just have to really figure out in your industry what's the next big thing that's coming and how can you get on that wave to be able to establish longevity within your business.
She
Oh,
just planted another seed.
so good, man. So essentially, first of all, there is the consistency because I know it takes a high level of discipline to operate on the level you are, right? And we can talk a little bit more about that. But also being able to adapt to the changing times,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So that you can be flexible, reinvent
hmm,
yourself, and this is how you keep growing. I
yeah.
like that so much. I love that. And I think one of the biggest reasons I feel that I relate to that as well is, when I started my gym, right, just a couple years ago, I remember when we're signing up members, it was the most amazing feeling ever. We're signing up people, signing up, and that's all we knew. Then we had the first cancellation, and it felt like my world stopped, right? Because what happened is we got that first cancellation. Then the next day we had two more cancellations.
Whoa.
And I was like in serious panic mode. But somehow, somewhere, right, I kind of went around that and just kept pushing to sign up more than so that when other people cancel, and it's not necessarily that they'll cancel because they're mad at anything, right? But life happens,
Mhm,
right? It is what it
Exactly.
is, and you have to be ready to react to it. So I really appreciate that. That's pretty awesome there, right?
Thank you.
So for you personally, right, before we wrap it up here, what would you say are some habits that you've developed over the years that essentially enable you to stay on track, right? Because when you're running your own business, it's all you, right? There is no sort
boss
of like
journey.
exactly. So and with doing something like that, this goes back to that discipline. What are some habits that you've developed over the years that enable you to stay on track and just keep working on yourself and making sure that you're always having that forward um, momentum?
So I would say one of my key habits is being teachable. I feel like I can always learn something new. Being open to new opportunities is another habit. That I think every entrepreneur needs, because you just never know what next opportunity will present itself that could just turn your business into a six figure, seven figure business.
Absolutely.
And then also being structured, that was one of the hardest things, especially when you begin to have a family.
Right.
Yeah, just learning to really be structured is not like, oh, well, I work for myself. I can wake up at 10 o'clock. No, you still need to be waking up at 6, 7 o'clock so that you can get things done. And then even to having balance is a good habit, because what I started to see was that as my business grew, my family was suffering. And I was like,
Right.
oh no, if I'm really doing this for you, I don't want to miss those precious moments that I'll never be able to get back. And so I had to start saying no to Saturday appointments and just making sure that I structured my week where everything was able to, fit in that Monday
To
through
fit into the
Friday.
time. Yep.
Yeah, fit into that time. And so those are just some of the habits that I was able to develop that has, kept me sharp, that has kept me, I would say, just thriving in this industry. And then also, I think too, making sure that you're growing your mind. So I used to love reading until I went to college and I started reading all of this stuff that I didn't like to read. And so then once I started getting back into the mode of finding things in my industry, right? Or finding things that really would speak to growth, the growth of a person, leadership skills. So get some books too. That's a great habit to form, because those books can open you up to so many things that can help you, in your endeavors.
Absolutely. There's a saying, we all have the same 24 hours. Some people just do more with it. And
Yes.
that's a perfect example right there. Right. So before we wrap up the podcast here, what is your definition of success? And what would you say is your why for everything you do?
My why? Well, I would definitely say that my family is my why, right?
Right.
When I think of just who am I doing this for, I'm literally doing it for not just my children, but my children's children. I had made a
Right.
status on Facebook. I said, I'm going to be the one that they say she did it. Like, I want them, to be able to be like, man, my great, 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 great grandma Ola Summers did it, and then they're
Yeah.
able to eat the fruits of my labor because of the sacrifices, that I made. And I would say that my definition of success, that's a really good question. My definition of success would be able to know that the vision that I accomplish is bigger than me.
Ooh,
The vision that
I
I
love it.
accomplish is bigger than me, because
That's
a
that's
limited
legacy.
vision. Yeah, that's and that's
Yeah,
why we borrow legacies, and
I
that's
know.
the yeah, to create something out of nothing, literally. Because not that my parents didn't have anything, but I
Yep.
know that I have to create from scratch, and so I'm creating from nothing to be able to leave something for the generations to come.
We owe it to the world,
Yes,
right? To leave from here and leave it better than we came in,
that's
as
it.
we came here.
She's not thinking about the moon. She's thinking of the stars, the entire
Hey man,
continental,
listen, yeah,
galactical.
hey, that's and I think that that's a beautiful thing, and I think that we all have to be more selfless in that way,
Yeah, yeah. We
right?
need more selfless people. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's so much more that I want to dive into, but obviously we have time here, and I would like to extend to you, and to anyone watching the podcast, if there's anything that Ola said here today that you would like to learn more about it, I would definitely encourage commenting below, and then we can extend another invitation to you so that we can take a deeper dive into a little bit more specifics on whether it's insurance, right? Credit, health itself, or maybe even speak with your husband about taxes. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Ola, before we go, tell us, what do you see in the next 5 or 10 years for Barra Legacies, right? And for yourself.
Yeah. So for Borrow Legacies, we're actually now working on recruiting more agents.
Right.
I feel like, you know, the best way to really be a leader is to bring up other leaders. I know that there are so many people in, you know, the community where we reside that could benefit from not just the financial knowledge that we have, but be
Right.
able to benefit financially for taking on this endeavor. And so if I can't touch everybody, but I know
Mm.
if I create other people, they can touch people that I'm not able to touch. And so we
This
want
is
to
true.
expand our team. We also just added on another program, which is called Baby Bosses, which is partnering with Borrow Legacies. And it literally is a financial program for parents for their children, because we're going to start teaching the babies at a
Ooh.
young age to be bosses. And so we are going to teach them what it is to have an LLC, what it is to have a bank account, what it is to have life insurance at a young age, so that they don't have to wait till they in their 30s and their 40s to learn this stuff. No, you finna learn it now, and you gonna already have it set up so that you can begin to have that legacy at a young age, because other cultures are doing it. So why not be able to do it for our culture? So that's a program that we're partnering with. And those are just some of the key things that we're working on. And then I know we're also looking for our credit program, not to
Right.
just have it for individuals, but we're looking to actually bring it into the workplace. So my husband is working on a credit membership program that he wants to bring into the workplace, because you have all of these other memberships that they have. Why not have a credit membership? Because
Right.
people really need that credit education.
Oh, so good. Now, that's what I call the extension, because I think everyone in our generation, most people, will say, "Hey, I wish I learned this in high school instead of learning whatever else that was not helpful for me." And I think you guys are taking action towards that, which is
Yes.
just, yeah, incredible. That is beautiful.
Thank
Miss
you.
Ola Summers, we're going to have the links, your email address, right, in the comments, so that if anyone wants to reach out to you to just learn more and just find out more about your company, definitely that information is going to be down there, right? Anything else you'd like to share with the people before we close it out?
No, this was just an amazing time. I appreciate you guys for having me on. And I hope that I said something that just inspired and encouraged somebody just to be or to tap into the greatness that they already have inside.
Hey, absolutely. You said a few things that inspired me for sure. I've been taking some notes. So yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely. Yeah. No, every time I was looking down, I was writing. So amazing. Kenny, go ahead.
Again, I just want to thank you for taking the time to join us today. We've just literally accomplished one of the reasons why we established YAS, and we
Yeah.
want to see more of this. We look to having you back on.
Yeah.
As Shay mentioned, we're going to leave your contact here. And if you have any questions, oh, by the way, do you provide services outside uh, of, of the Midwest?
Yes, we everywhere. So just reach out to us, and we can take care of you. We got clients everywhere. So yes.
So it's continental USA all the way to Alaska.
Everywhere. Come on here. Yes.
Even in Puerto Rico, just give her a
Yes.
bus. She got you
Yes.
covered.
Ooh, Puerto Rico is
Just
a
name it.
territory.
So yeah,
Yes.
we got all the details. So yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, please like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Yas Podcast Official. Follow us on Facebook, Young and Successful, and subscribe and share our videos. We appreciate each and every one of you for watching. Our goal is to get to 1,000 uh, subscribers soon. Until next time, check out.
Double O Kenny out.
Cheers, cheers.